listening to the Patriot Nation podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation podcast. As always, a proud member of the CLNS group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to all of the great shows on that network. But today, it's a special afternoon edition of the Patriot Nation podcast with your boy Pat Lane and my guy Matt St. Jean. And Matt, first of all, I hope you had a great holiday. Second of all, here's the question I want to lead off with today.
Oh boy,
are the Denver Broncos for real?
It depends on how we define for real. I will say that, last night was a Thursday night game, so it's a short week on the road against a divisional opponent, and I just don't want to take too much away from that. I don't want to overreact to a Thursday night Christmas game late in the season and say, this team's not that good.
Right.
The flip side, the Broncos defense has been surprisingly leaky for a little bit now. They're not the Texans defense feels more imposing to me right now than the Denver defense, I think. But the flip side here is, I think if you were the one seed in your conference, which the Broncos are one home win away from wrapping up, I think it's hard to say you're not for real. Just with their home field advantage, they have to basically win 2 coin flips and they're in the Super Bowl.
Which is definitely a fair point. Definitely a fair point. The one argument that I'll make kind of against them is that they last night tied the record, right, set by the Chiefs last year and the 2022 Minnesota Vikings. They've now won 11 one-score games. And that's awesome. It's awesome to play well under pressure, and it's awesome to, be able to kind of be that team that, kind of always pulls it out in the end.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say is that the 2022 Minnesota Vikings lost in the first round to Daniel Jones and the New York Giants, right? So no, they were 13-5. They were 13-4. I guess at the end of the year, they didn't have the record that these Broncos have, and I think at least that Bo Nix at least is, you can argue, is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. And Cousins famously doesn't play well in big moments, although he had 8 incompletions in that playoff game when they lost 31-24. So, is the Broncos defense better than the Vikings defense back in 2022? Sure, and all those things, but you have that many close games. And listen, we can talk and say, they're battle tested and they're this and nothing impacts them. And it's well, yeah, but then there's also an element of you just can't put teams away. And we've been talking about that with the Patriots now for a while. I don't feel like anyone talks about that with the Broncos. No one mentions, wow, the Broncos just can't put teams away. All they talk about is, no, Bo Nix has done a great job of coming back and making great plays in big moments, but they have an opportunity to step on the throat of their opponent, and they don't do it. And, that to me is a concern moving forward. I don't know if the Patriots can beat them in the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to have to beat them in the playoffs. And so that's, I guess we'll see what happens.
Well, I did think, I thought Denver played really well in the second half last night. I thought they just kind of were all right, this is what we need to do to win the game. They just kind of choked the life out of Kansas City. But it's also, I go back to, if you look at March Madness, when you're filling out a bracket, one of the things you always think of is, all right, well, if you're a really good team, but you play slow games, like Virginia, that's always the classic of March Madness. Oh, Virginia's so good all year, and then they lose to UMBC or whoever else early on, because when you play a slow game, you're just fewer plays by the opponent away from being in trouble. And that's kind of how Denver felt last night. They won. And they did really choke the life out of Kansas City in the second half. You're also one bad play in the second half there away from that game totally flipping on its head.
Right.
So, yeah, their defense since the bye week, so this is since week 13, ranks 18th in EPA per play. and they're not playing great offenses in that span. Like you do get Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, you do get Green Bay, but both of those games are at home. That Green Bay game is with a lot of guys getting banged up during it, and no Tucker Kraft in that one. And this also includes a game with the Marcus Mariota Washington Commanders, a game against the Raiders, and this game with Chris Olajuwon and the Chiefs. That's 3 bad offenses that you should be playing in that span. And this defense has looked wholly mediocre in that span, which I don't think is a great sign for them. I will say like this. Their run defense in particular feels like it's becoming more of a weakness, and their pass rush is really good, but like it does, like I don't know, it feels like it relies a lot on speed rushers getting a jump, and if they don't get that jump,
right,
not and like Riley Moss has so many penalties.
Well, and so this is, and 618 says it too. They're struggling to get, the Chiefs really had like third stringers out there, and I do think that Mahomes probably wins that game. Although the way he played this year, maybe not, but. You know,
it was a 1-score game in the second half at home. Like I do think that the Chiefs probably win that with Mahomes.
Yeah, and again, Olajuwon had them driving at the end of the game. Like Chris Olajuwon has them driving at the end of the game to try to win the game. It's just like that seems strange to me that we're giving up those things.
Yeah, it's like they should be. I wonder if they're defensively a team that maybe peaked too early in the season, maybe peaked before the bye.
Right.
So, and it's interesting, like they're not, like what is it? Pro Football Reference has something that they call the symbol rating system that they use to evaluate teams, which just I think looks at, your point differential and your strength of schedule to figure out where you rank among teams. And that has the Broncos as the 11th best team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which kind of feels correct, but I also think the 11th best team in the NFL can win the Super Bowl if you're put in a position for that. It does feel like this Denver team is going to be matchup dependent. Well, what's interesting is this is, they're 1 win away from having the AFC playoffs go through Denver. They're also a loss and a little bit of help away from being like the 6th seed.
Right. It's
and
pretty crazy.
How you feel about them is going to change a lot. If they're the 6th seed, I'm not like if they're the 6th seed, they're probably going to Jacksonville. We saw that game last week in Denver.
In Denver.
I think, I think I know how you feel about how that would go. I also don't like them against Buffalo. I think Buffalo in particular would be a bad matchup for them. I think that's one of the teams. It's like they have the running game to just consistently maul them down.
Right. It's interesting, and that's gonna be the fascinating thing to kind of see where, how things shake out with the Patriots this weekend, and you kind of get to this situation where, what do you want if you're the Patriots? You want the 1 seed. You just that's what you want is the 1 seed, right? But then it's like, how do the pieces fall around you? And, who else gets knocked out? And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you're talking about playoff seeding, I do think part of me thinks, and this is insane to even think out loud and say out loud, but part of me thinks that in 2015, the Patriots wanted to avoid the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's part of the reason why they did what they did at the end of the season. They didn't get the number 1 seed, which is stupid, incredibly stupid. But the thought process was the best team in the AFC is the Pittsburgh Steelers, not named the Patriots. And so if you can avoid the Steelers until the AFC Championship game, then you're fine. The way it worked out was that Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati, and Antonio Brown gets knocked out of that game by Vontaze Burfict. And Pittsburgh goes in and still almost knocks off Denver in Denver, but they lose. And the Patriots have to go into Denver, and they lose in Denver because they don't have enough guys and because that defense was incredible. And it's
because Steven Gostkowski missed an extra point.
Right. And so, had the Patriots played for that 1 seed, remember that was the Jets game where they elected to kick in overtime.
He wanted to take the wind, yeah.
Right.
And then it didn't matter because the Jets marched down the field and scored a touchdown with ease.
Correct. And then
The Steven
Jackson
game
game in Miami. So
Yeah.
they win either of those two games, they end up as the 1 seed. And I'm thoroughly convinced, and it's stupid, but I'm thoroughly convinced they tried to avoid Pittsburgh in that situation. The Patriots shouldn't be thinking about that. Patriots should be thinking, we need the 1 seed this year. Whoever we play is who we play. We can't control that. But if it's 2 games to get in as opposed to 1, then that's what we need to be doing.
Well, and the key difference between 2015 and now is that in 2015, if you're the 2 seed, you get a bye.
2 buys. True.
Now you don't get a bye.
Right.
So I think you play, and I also think, regardless here, you need to win 2 to win the division. So you want the home games. I have a lot of confidence in this team on the road as well. Being on the road doesn't necessarily scare me with this group, but when you can play at home, you want to play at home.
Absolutely. And again, 2 wins versus 3 wins, that makes a big difference,
Yeah.
So
it is funny you mentioned 2015 with second last week of the season going to New York and how banged up that team is because look at where we are right now.
Right. It's true. This injury report is a mess. Zero Strokes asking about Kyrus Tonga. Kyrus Tonga has been declared out. Frosty was asking about Henderson. Henderson, it has not been declared out yet. He might be, but he has not been declared out yet. Vrabel's been cagey about it, but he was at practice without a red jersey on today. That doesn't mean that he's going to play on Sunday, but it's a good sign for things moving forward that he's been practicing this week. Then they have to keep an eye on him and make sure that he responds well to practice, and then he can clear concussion protocol. So it looks like he's trending towards playing on Sunday, but there's no guarantee for that.
Well, I don't think anyone will know until I think tomorrow is when he'd have to clear that.
I believe so, yeah.
So we'll probably know tomorrow. The full list that Vrabel gave earlier, the guys that are out. So Tonga, you mentioned. Spillane is out. Jared Wilson's out. Harold Landry's out. Milton Williams is not going to return this week. Mac Hollins is out, and Kayshon Boutte is out. And then Demario Douglas is also going to be questionable. So you're down. I don't know if we consider Tonga a starter on the defensive line, but
close to it.
You're basically down 3 starters on the defensive line with Tonga, Milton Williams, and Harold Landry for this one, which is pretty brutal. You're going to be down 2 starters on the offensive line with no Jared Wilson or Will Campbell on the left side. You're going to be down 2. I mean, they've been starters all year at receiver in Mac Hollins and Kayshon Boutte.
Mm.
And you're down your top linebacker, and you might be down your one of your top running backs and another key receiver at the same time. I mean, there's a world where to win the AFC East, you're relying on Dearness Johnson and Efton Chisholm here in what could be poor conditions at MetLife Stadium.
Right, it's true, and that's not ideal.
Not what you drew up.
No, and again, it is the Jets, but they're an NFL football team, and they're going to be supremely motivated to beat the Patriots because they're the Patriots. The only thing that they have left to play for is this idea of playing spoiler. They play the Patriots this week, and they play the Bills next week. So you have an opportunity to shift what happens in the division in these last 2 weeks. And as unlikely as it will be, because the Jets are terrible and they're a joke and they don't have a quarterback and it's a mess, if they were to somehow win those games, that redefines the entire season for those teams. And obviously it impacts their draft positioning and blah, blah, blah. The guys that are playing there, and I thought Max Crosby said it the best. Like Max Crosby, they were talking to Max Crosby about, like, what do you think about the draft positioning? What do you like? This game is for draft position. And he's like, I don't give a shit about the draft. My job is to be the best pass rusher in the world, and that's what I'm going to do. They don't care about the draft. These guys are focused on playing the best that they possibly can play because some of them may not be on the Jets next year. So it's an audition tape for other teams. Some of them might be fighting for a spot on the Jets, and it's an audition tape for Aaron Glenn and his staff. And so, those guys aren't going to lie down. Now, are they as talented? No. Is the coaching as good? I don't think so. But they're still professional athletes, and they could still win this game if the Patriots aren't careful. And so, yes, guys are sitting out. Yes, it's just the Jets. But, the Patriots, I think, understand, like, You can't mess around in this game. This isn't a game like, oh, we're just going to walk in and kill them. Like, doesn't matter. It's the Jets. It's a playoff. It's playoff atmosphere for the Patriots, and it should be for the Jets as well.
Yeah, and even if like I don't really think what effort that you're gonna get from the Jets until you show up. I do think this is a game where, well, if you put 17 on them early, they might just fold and you kind of run out the clock and go home. But if it's late third quarter and it's 13-10 New England lead, that is where, all right, the crowd might start to come alive a little bit. And, all those Jets fans that may have gotten tickets for Christmas or things like that showing up to this one, the players might start to feel it. And just like, even outside that atmosphere, you don't want to be in a spot where you're on the road in the division and you're one mistake away from losing a football game. Because you can control what you can control, but this is the sport of football. You don't know how that ball is going to bounce. You get a ball that deflects the wrong way, or somebody loses a fumble, or one guy breaks a tackle, and the entire shape of the AFC can change all in that one moment. So I do think it's imperative for the Patriots to just try to get up on this one early and put them away. You don't want to let the Jets feel like they have a chance, and you don't want to be within a roll of the dice of being behind in this one.
No, you don't. You don't. And like you said, you put 17 on them quick, or you go up 21-3 or something like that, and it, might feel the Jets like, all right, what are we doing here? Like, this is ridiculous. We're getting blown out again. Like, it is what it is. Let's just get to the end of the game, and you may, walk out of there with an easy win. But like you say, if it's a 1-score game, even if it's a 2-score game, 10-point game or something like that in the second half, it's still pretty tight. So they just got to be on their P's and Q's and make sure that, they're not doing anything stupid out there. And I think that that's something that they've learned from. That's something that they don't really do a lot. And again, how focused are they on winning this game and focusing on the next game? If you're the Patriots, you have to understand that you have the division. You have the number 2 seed. The number 2 seed is locked up. That's yours. If you don't blow it the next 2 games, right? Yeah. If you just win the next 2 games, the number 2 seed is yours, and you win the AFC East and you finish as the number 2 team, and you're playing all home games unless you have to go to Denver, right? And so you have that in front of you. You just got to win these 2 games now. And so I think they should be supremely motivated and focused. And I think Vrabel has had them focused anyways. But I think, if that Bills game helped them like we are hoping that it did, the hope is that they are focused on this game, understanding that each game matters. And then next week, here's where it gets interesting for me. Denver already won. If the Patriots win on Sunday, I would think that game against Miami should be a 4:30 start. Because that it's going to be a 4:00 start in Denver. You probably want to start the games at the same time. And so you start, this Patriots game at 4:00 against Miami because it decides, obviously the AFC East, it would decide the AFC East, assuming that the Bills beat the Eagles, which is another interesting thing. And 618 has a question about that too that we'll talk about. But, do the Bills do the Bills win? And now that Bills-Jets game becomes, that's an AFC East. That decides the AFC East too. So it's interesting.
Well, I do think the other factor here is the Texans-Chargers game tomorrow, the Saturday afternoon game, because if the Chargers win, then Chargers-Broncos is for the division as well. And I could also see a world where this ends up with that could be the Sunday night game or that could be the Saturday night game. It'll be like Bucks Panthers is just going to be if things go the way they're expected to go on Sunday, is going to be a straight up for the division winner gets a home game.
One team is out. Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked if that ends up as the Saturday night game, and the Sunday night you might have a battle with the 1 seed at stake, and for the AFC West with the Chargers and the Broncos, that could be the Sunday night game. You also might have that 49ers Seahawks game in San Francisco that could be for the NFC 1 seed if the 49ers beat the Bears this week, which could also get that Sunday night slot. So I think there's a couple different ways that the NFL can handle this. I would prefer that the Patriots and the Broncos games be at the same time if it's going to be for the 1 seed. I also wouldn't be totally shocked if they don't, just because like the Patriots are at home against the Dolphins. Are going to be expected to win that game, and they might just feel comfortable saying, "Hey, we need to spread games out, so this is just going to end up in the 1 o'clock, and we're going to assume the Patriots are going to win, and the Chargers Broncos is going to be the 4:25 game."
Right.
So, well, we will see how they land on this. But yeah, it's a Jets team that's pretty banged up too. I think Will McDonald and Mason Taylor are both out for them, as a pass rusher and
their top pass rusher and their top pass catcher. He has the most receptions on the team, does he not?
Well, I believe in second in receiving yards behind Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Breece Hall is next up. The Jets, because Mason Taylor and Garrett Wilson are out right now, Breece Hall is their best hope for someone to get to 400 receiving yards on the season.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. Which is kind of incredible.
Then again, the Vikings won on Thursday with 3 net passing yards, and they didn't just win; they blew out the Lions with 3 net passing yards. So
somehow I don't think this Jets defense is going to have the same effect on.
Probably not. Probably not.
The starting quarterback for the Jets is going to be Brady Cook, undrafted out of Mizzou this year. Has not played great in his NFL career so far.
Probably named after Tom Brady. Maybe not, but most likely named after Tom Brady. You didn't see many kids named Brady.
He was born in October 2001, so that would have been pretty bold to name him after someone who was
probably not there.
2 or 3 starts into his career.
He's that old, huh? Well, I guess it makes sense. Undrafted.
Yeah, when he was a 5-year college guy too.
Yeah,
yeah. So, we'll see. The Jets should not be getting quality quarterback play on Sunday. I think their path to an upset here is going to be to do one thing that they've done all right this season, and that's run the ball. They're going to have to run the ball well and control the clock, which they have not. They've run the ball okay. That's been the best part of their offense, but they have like one of the shortest times of possession in the NFL. Like their offense just does not stay on the field, so they're going to have to be better there. And you have to think they're going to have to force a turnover, right?
I mean, you would think so. It's just okay. How is it even possible to go 15 games without an interception? Like, how is that even possible? I get it. I understand, right? The defense isn't good. They don't have a lot of good players, but like, they're guys. There are guys there. And you've played some terrible teams. You played the Dolphins twice, for God's sakes. Like, you've played teams that like to throw interceptions, and you just 15 straight games with an interception is mind-blowing that could even be a stat. How is that even possible? It just seems crazy to think like, okay, we can't even force a turnover. And Aaron Glenn's supposed to be a defensive coach.
Yeah. Well, and they just, like, they kind of have a secondary of guys who are just, like, not ball hawks. Like they have guys who can get their hands on the ball, but like Brandon Stevens is their top corner. This is his 5th year in the NFL. He has 2 career interceptions. One of their other corners is Zaria Thomas. I don't even know if is he playing this week? I think he is.
Is he a 2nd-year guy?
He's
or
a
3rd-year guy. He's a rookie. Okay, I know he can. Is he UAB? No, that's not right. Is it?
No, Florida State.
Just doing it off the top of my head here. Florida State. I knew it was somewhere down south. I couldn't remember exactly.
But he only had 2 picks in college. They had Sauce Gardner, but like he's obviously not there anymore, and you're not going to throw at him.
You would just think by accident, ball gets tipped in the air or something like that, and someone comes down with a fluky interception, or some quarterback just makes a horrendous throw, and it's just right to. I mean, how many times Drake May? Drake May's done that 3 or 4 times. Drake May has been incredible this year, and he's done that 3 or 4 times. You just throw it to a guy. It's just like by accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and they have a lot of guys on this team who just are not like in their history as DBs have not been ball hawks.
Yeah.
So it's just like they're not. Like on one hand, like, they should have more picks than they do, just by sheer luck.
Right.
But also, they got a roster full of guys who just have historically not been that good playing the ball. Like they're, I didn't see anything. I don't think Zaria Thomas is playing. Is he an injured reserve? Yeah, he is. So he's not even in there right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be Brandon Stevens, Jordan Clark, and Quantez Stiggers as their defensive backs.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Sticky Stiggs, right?
Yeah. Malachi Moore and Dean Clark at safety. I mean, there's no one in the secondary. So
No. Well, and listen, I get it, right? I understand. Like, it's not, but you would just think by accident. Like you have some linebackers, maybe a guy drops into coverage and, picks off a pass or something like that. Like, you just like, I don't know. It's just crazy that hasn't happened to them this year,
I think this week, May is not someone that usually puts the ball in harm's way. He's been one of the cleaner throwers in the NFL this year. But on a week like this, where the weather's probably not going to be great, it's definitely going to be cold and it might be raining. And
yeah,
you're just not going to have good receivers. Like, it's going to be Stephon Diggs. And, like, there's a real chance it's Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm.
That's right, baby. Efton Chisholm.
Receiver depth chart.
Patriots Nation rejoice when Efton Chisholm has his first catch. Probably, you would think, has 2 catches for 12 yards. And people go, oh, my God, look at this guy. He's so good.
But there's, there could be a play here where Mays is looking for Kyle Williams to run a route one way, he runs it the other way, and you throw it right to a defender. And, those are the things you have to try to avoid. I think if you're New England, you're almost trying to do the opposite of the Jets here. Even though their backfield's a concern, I think you probably just want to put 2 tight ends on the field because you're going to – I'd rather have Austin Hooper out there than Efton Chisholm. Or Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams has made his plays, but I think Kyle Williams is someone who's going to be a role player for you. Down. I think you want 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
Maybe an extra offensive lineman, and you want to see if you can dial up the running game. You're also I say this, you're also banged up at tackle. Morgan Moses and Thayer Munford are on the injury report.
It's crazy.
And who knows if they're going to have Henderson.
Maybe CJ Dupree, baby. That'd be nice. Also, Serial Stroke says, am I crazy for thinking Westover is going to catch a TD? That'd be wild. Wouldn't that be wild that Jack Westover catch?
That would be crazy. By the way, Dupree also did not practice today with an illness.
Oh, my Lord, dude.
Carlton Davis did not practice today with an illness.
Yeah, not great.
So,
not great.
I would assume those guys are probably going to be healthy by Sunday, but not ideal.
Half the team's got the flu, half the team's hurt. That's not good.
Charles Woods is limited right now.
Yeah.
Anthony Jennings is limited right now. Those guys are not even being listed as questionable. So, you'd think they should be good to go on Sunday,
right.
Assuming something doesn't get worse between now and then. But then not guys playing at full strength, which is we talked about the late buy. It was all right, Patriots can get healthy late. Nope, didn't happen.
Yeah, they've gotten injured late, which is not ideal. So the good news is Milton Williams is back at practice. I would expect him to play next week sparingly. I would expect him to get his feet wet. You kind of get his feet wet at practice this week, kind of get him ready to go again. And then next week you give him a few reps on the field. Just a few. You're not playing him for, 30 snaps or anything like that, but just a few reps on the field. And you see what happens. I would assume that Will Campbell might be back to practice next week, but I would think he's definitely not playing at least until the playoffs. I don't know for sure, but it just seems like that kind of 6-week injury for him, where that's another reason why the bye is so important, because if you can get the bye, there's a chance that he doesn't even miss a playoff game. And he's, a little bit more healthy when he comes back. So we'll see.
Yep. When it comes to just the results of this one on Sunday, it's like if you win, you're 1 home win away from guaranteeing in the 2 seed, and then likely, likely 2 home playoff games. If you win the first one, you're going to get a second home playoff game.
Correct.
If you lose, odds are you're going to be either the 5 or the 6 seed.
Right.
Which means you're either going to Pittsburgh, which a team you can beat, but a team you've lost to at home already this season.
Correct.
And you're probably favored in that matchup, but you're not going to feel great about that.
No.
Or you're going to Jacksonville or Houston, whoever the 3 seed is, and that feels like a tough matchup at this point.
Yep. And so that becomes, just you control your own destiny. You've won these games before. You just got to go and take care of business. Is really what it comes down to. And if they end up as the 5 or the 6 seed, they've done it to themselves, right? Like you have the opportunity. You're playing two bad teams the last 2 weeks of the season. You have to win these games. And yes, guys are hurt. Yes, people are banged up. Everyone's banged up all across the league, right? Everyone is. The Jets are starting Brady Cook, for God's sakes. Like, just teams are hurt. It's just the way it goes. And so you have to be able to push through that and, and win the game regardless of the situation. So, what's that? Rule 76, no excuses, play like a champion. Like, you got to do it. So
yeah, you got it.
Anyways, you want to do an ad read and then we'll continue.
Yeah, works for me.
All right, so this ad read, of course, for Prize Picks. It's the holiday season, the best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels great to be right: Prize Picks. And again, one of my favorite features about Prize Picks, the new feature for us, is that they have early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes, which is pretty nice. It's a good one. So, and again, if you're like me and your fantasy season's over and you sucked in all your stupid playoff matchups, it's a great way for you to stay involved with daily fantasy sports. And so, for me at least, I like it. And so you pick more or less on two guys, at least two players, and you put them in your lineup and you go from there. This week, I have, by the way, still Picksmas going on. I got a flex play on Friday, this Friday, Flex Friday. If you do a flex play, you'll get a profit boost on there, a little boost on there. So make sure you do that. But mine for today is Nico Collins for more than 63.5 receiving yards. Drake May, more than 209.5 passing yards. And Christian Ellis with more than 2.5 assists at tackling assists, I guess is what we'll say. So what are you going to do? You can download the app Prize Picks. You're going to put in the promo code CLNS. When you do that, you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, so should we get into a little bit about, I guess, I don't know, a little bit about the Jets offense? Do we really, I don't know.
I think we should at least name the players.
Matt checking in. What's up, Matt? How we doing, sir? Thanks for coming through.
Not a lot has changed from the first time except for the quarterback situation with Brady Cook in there. Outside of that, we saw A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell, it's probably worth talking about him because he got open a decent amount in the first matchup in New England. She could not catch the ball. He's an inconsistent player. He's been up and down, but he's had good moments. So I think if the Jets are going to beat you through the air, it's going to involve a handful of big plays from him. I think getting a good game out of Christian Gonzalez over there will be pretty important just to eliminate any possibility of shenanigans happening.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it comes down to, is that they still have players, right? Breece Hall hasn't had a great year, but he's a good player. A.D. Mitchell was one of those guys that A.D. Mitchell is interesting because he came out, it was kind of like, okay, maybe he's good, maybe he's not. We really can't tell. He was a mess in Indianapolis, of course, at that play where he dropped the ball as he was going into the end zone. But he's explosive. He's an explosive guy. And I like that pickup for the Jets because you're just taking a shot in the dark. You're just seeing what can happen. If he could turn into something, now you've got, a playmaking wide receiver. And so he's been pretty good for them. Inconsistent because that's what he is, but he could have a big game and he could have a big play. And I think that's, they have guys that can do those things, and that should make them a little scary, right? It should at least make the Jets a little scary. And if that's the case, then we look at the Jets and say, okay, yeah, they're not great, but they got some guys. They got some guys that can make some plays, and I think that matters. So we'll see ultimately what happens, but I do think, offensively, listen, they have a good offensive line. At least they have a good offensive line. They have two good tackles, in Fashanu and Membu, right? But they have a pretty good offensive line, and so you feel like, all right, Breece Hall should be able to run the ball a little bit. Patriots gonna be banged up on the defensive line. Maybe they can run the ball a little bit more. Patriots are banged up at linebacker still, and so all of those things matter. when you're talking about what an offense is going to be. And if they can slow the game down and they can muck it up and pick up 4 or 5 yards a carry and just run the ball down your throat and hold on to that football a lot, even if they're not able to punch it in once they get down to the red zone, that's still going to take time with the clock. Maybe the offense can't get into a groove and you turn it into that 13-10 game like you were talking about, Matt, and it becomes awfully difficult for the Patriots to win that game. Maybe they win, but it becomes a lot more of a challenging game than it might look on paper.
Yeah, well, I think that's your concern. And with it, like, you just don't want them to get their rushing game going. Like, you look at the close games the Jets have played this year. Like, they win at Cincinnati, 254 rushing yards, 197 at Miami in a game that ended up being a one-score game. Week 1 at home against the Steelers, that was a 2-point game, 182 rushing yards. I think you just don't want their rushing attack to take over. You really want to make Brady Cook beat you through the air. So, like, this, in some ways, this reminds you of the game at Cincinnati before Burrow comes back, where it's like it's just don't let them beat you with those 1 or 2 plays through the air. They're not going to be many of them, and like you just those big, like, I think about that Mitchell Tinsley touchdown at the end of the Bengals game. It's like, okay, now all of a sudden we have a game. Those are the ones I think you just have to take away, especially in the red zone. If the Jets get down there, you can't let them throw in. I think schematically, you're just throwing everything at the run.
Right.
Like, and just load the box up. And I did think, it's funny, going back, I felt a little bit better about the Patriots' run defense after watching the tape of Sunday night's game, only because a lot of there were some bad plays in there. This is not a good run defense. But a significant number of the good Derrick Henry runs involved him falling forward through tackles and being hard to break down. And, like, Jack Gibbons is just not a great tackler. He's not.
Right.
And that against Derrick Henry is going to be rough for you. Breece Hall's not as hard to bring down. He's still a good player, but he's not Derrick Henry. I think you can do better this week, and there's less of a passing threat. So you can really load the box and make it so that if you miss one tackle, it's still not the end of the world. Long term, I do think their biggest issue with run defense is that they rely really heavily on getting edge penetrate. Like, the whole scheme with run defense is for the edge to get up the field as far as possible on the outside runs, so that the running back has to take a longer path to get to the hole, and that gives your second level players time to get there. And, like, right now, every part of that is not working. Like,
right.
Your edge defenders aren't getting up the field. Another key part of that is, like, you need your defensive tackles to either get up the field or to hit multiple offensive linemen. Because what's happening is, like, okay, well, the tackle is pinning Caleb on Chasen with ease, and he can't get up the field. And the guard just gets right up to the linebacker right away. And these guys can't get off blocks anyway. And it's like, all right, well, now you have no chance. The running back has a clear path, and second-level players can't get there or get off blocks to make the tackle. So I think just having an extra body in the box this week to take care of that is probably what I would do. I do wonder if this is a game where you just don't play as much Marcus Jones. I love Marcus, but yeah, I think you want to, like, lean into having bigger bodies on the field to take away the run.
Right. It makes sense. And, our guy, Coach Chaos, talked about him being a snub from the Pro Bowl. I do hope that Marcus gets some recognition from the All-Pro. I get Shamir Adike. I really do. In the return game, I understand it. He has 2 punt returns for a touchdown this year as well. He's also a kick returner. He actually, I don't know if he's still going to, but he was on pace to break Darren Sproles' record for most all-purpose yards in a year. I'm not sure if he's quite there still, but I'm sure he's getting close. And regardless of whether he breaks that or not, he's been fantastic this year as a return guy. I think because he's the kick return as well, he gets kind of a little bit of an edge over Marcus. I can see that. I also think Marcus has been a great slot corner as well. And that's something that you can't expect Pro Bowl voters to really know. They don't know those things. Like, they just don't. All the corners for a Pro Bowl are going to be outside guys because that's just the way it works. They just don't know what a slot corner even is. Half the people that are watching don't know what a slot corner is. So you're hoping that the All-Pro team, he gets kind of that second team all pro nod, whether it's at punt returner or whether it's at, slot corner or whatever the case may be. Because he's been very good. But to your point, if you're focused on stopping the run, to put an extra safety in the box, right? And Marcus is good against the run. But if his sole purpose out there is going to be to stop the run, it makes sense to have a safety out there and not, a guy like Marte Mapu as opposed to, Marcus Jones, because he's going to be a better run defender. And ultimately, I don't want, as much as I love Marcus Jones, I don't want his sole purpose to be out there to stop the run because he's a small guy. I want him healthy for the playoffs, So I think that it makes a ton of sense to have kind of an extra safety on the field.
Hey, Pat, you gave a quote from Max Crosby on this episode, correct?
Yeah.
What was the quote again?
He said, "We don't care about. I don't care about the draft pick. I care about being the best pass rusher in the world when I'm out there."
So tweet from Ari Myrov from 2 minutes ago. Developing. Raiders defensive end Max Crosby has been shut down for the season. He disagreed with the decision and has now left the building.
Yep. There you go.
Great things happening in Vegas.
What an absolute disaster. What an absolute disaster. And I'll tell you, Pete Carroll was not getting enough. Bill Belichick got laughed at for an entire season because of the whole Jordan stuff and the fact his team wasn't playing as well and blah, blah, blah. Pete Carroll hasn't gotten any of that, it feels like. And he deserves just as much, if not more, than Belichick has gotten. And I think, he should just ride off into the sunset. Like it's not turning around. Just realize that you don't have it anymore and walk away because this is an absolute train wreck.
Yeah, I agree. I would also add on to this. The Tom Brady element of this is why I am so glad that he's not a partial owner in New England.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if Brady's going to be a good owner or not. But if he was not a good owner and he was part of the problem in New England, that would make the situation so much messier.
Oh, yeah.
Emotional aspect. It would be so much harder to evaluate and make good decisions out of that.
Right.
Because no Patriots talking head, or I'm sure there are some Patriots talking heads that would love to do this, but most Patriots fans would not love to sit around and talk about how we need to get rid of Tom Brady as the owner.
Right.
It's like an uncomfortable thing. I mean, even Cam Neely in Boston with the Bruins has had its rough moments. That's for sure. And I just think keeping those legacies separate is probably for the best for Brady and for the Patriots.
Well, think about it this way, right? Think about it this way, to your point. Michael Jordan, a lot of people consider to be the greatest player of all time in basketball. He completely botched it in Charlotte. He was a mess in Charlotte. Nobody talks about that anymore. Nobody cares because it was freaking Charlotte. Who cares about Charlotte?
Well, I do think the Charlotte fans are still upset about that.
I'm sure the Charlotte fans are still upset about it. But the vast majority of NBA people don't care and don't think about that.
Well, most importantly, the Bulls fans don't have to think about that at all.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Great point. And it's just it's the Raiders. Nobody cares. Great. Brady is great. And again, maybe he'll turn things around. It'll be fine. But right now it looks pretty bad. He's the one he's the one that advocated for Chip Kelly. So
yeah, which some of the reports about Chip Kelly were rough about him, not even knowing his own words for the plays they were calling. And it's not great out there. Of course we got that little nugget mid podcast episode here about Max Crosby. But I do think that's separating the Brady legacy as an owner from his legacy as a player. Something that I just think is important for all parties involved. So I'm glad he didn't come to New England, and for Brady's sake, still a fan of the guy. Hopefully it works out for him out there. But this is not going well. They're going to need a full reset for the next year. It feels like so.
Yeah.
I will say, if Max Crosby ends up being available on the trade market, culture-wise and player-wise, that is a fit in New England. I feel like he is someone that would like and respect Mike Vrabel a lot. And that, I don't know what the cost on that would be, but I would be interested if he was available.
100%. And I think that really, to me, that makes a ton of sense. You talk about a guy that just wants to win and is out there to win and works his butt off every day and like would buy into what they're doing here. And oh, by the way, is also one of the best pass rushers on the planet. Like that one would go pretty well. And it would take a lot. I'm sure it would take a lot to get there. You'd obviously have to trade your first round pick this year. I wonder if they would want 2 first round picks for him, probably. But a guy that's that good, is he 30 yet? I don't think he's 30 yet, is he? So
he's 28, I think, right now.
Yeah, a guy that good that's going to be going into his 29 year, like, I don't know.
Yeah, let's see. And he's in the first year of his extension right now, so it's 35 in dead cap, I think, which you can absorb. I mean, dead cap doesn't matter as much to them right now.
Right.
Let me do the trade here. Hold on. Yeah, they only. Oh wait, never mind. If it's a trade pre-June 1st next year, they do save $30 million against the cap.
So there you go. I mean, that would be. Imagine the Patriots blow up draft night with trading their first round pick and their first round pick this year and their second round pick next year for, or even their first round pick this year and their first round pick next year for.
That feels like too much.
I don't know. Crosby. It does feel like a lot. That feels like 2 first round picks feels like a lot. But then again, that's what Micah Parsons went for. Like, it's I don't know.
He's not as good as Micah Parsons, though. I will say it's also been just like his pressure numbers have been down the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I wonder if what do you call it?
If the market would be as big.
Yeah, like he's definitely a tier down from those guys. It's also partially just they don't have a good team around him. So
well, that's the other part of it, right? But if he's not happy and he's got to get out of there, and depending on what people around the league think of him, like, yeah, I'd have to see the cost, but I'd be very happy with him with a trade for Max Crosby.
Yeah. Just to put some numbers to it, by the way, 2021, 108 pressures, then 81, then 94 in 2023. So that's like his best years as a pass rusher. The last 2, 54 last year, 53 pressures this year. So, we're talking about cutting that almost in half for his best seasons there. So definitely, I think it's fair to question exactly how much is left in the tank there, but also you do hope that part of that is, team's not as good, coaching isn't as good. You get them in a better culture, and you're going to tap into that upside.
Right. You would think at least. So,
yeah, and an edge defender, no matter what, is going to be a need for the Patriots.
Yes,
not to look too far ahead, but like you need more depth. They need more bodies at the position, and like they need a premier guy. Like Harold Landry and Caleb Hunt-Jason, I think, would both be quality second and third edges in this system. But you need someone better than that to run what they're doing. Like
I agree.
They are so vulnerable to runs outside the tackles right now because of the fact that they don't get, especially with no Spillane and Milton Williams, there's no one in that front 7 who is creating splash plays against the run outside the tackles. And it's an issue at corner too. Like Christian Gonzalez, not the most, not very good at defending the run. Carlton Davis wants to. He has that in him. They'll run away from him. They just won't run towards that side. And like, I love Marcus Jones. He has the want to. If he can beat a blocker there, he's going to make a great play. He's too small. He can't go through.
He's just too small.
You see that with Woodson and Jalen Hawkins too. Like, they are both excellent tacklers. So if they get to the spot, the guy's going down. But neither one's that big. So if you're in it, like there was a run last week in Baltimore, the big Henry one before his touchdown run. Jalen Hawkins kind of gets to the spot,
tossed,
and then he doesn't get like there's that play. There's another one where the left tackle just kind of guides him out of the way with like one hand because it's just like he can't put up resistance to that, and Hawkins knows it too. Like everyone knows, well, we know who's winning this matchup. So I do wonder if somewhere in the box, if you want to add a bigger body, which I will say, Kyle Ducker's playing all right in Pittsburgh right now. And we talk about Milton Williams leaving or getting hurt being when the run defense stopped being as good. But they had a couple bad games with Milton Williams too. And I do wonder if maybe not having Kyle Duggar around, just to have a body that you could use in that role. something you're going to have to replace next year. The bigger body safety of linebacker type, slot defender type.
Right. It's true.
They're in a spot right now where if you don't have an elite edge defender and you have two different corners who are liabilities to a degree against the run, it's hard to defend those plays to the outside. Like the way to make up for that is spectacular linebacker play, which they're also not getting. So
right. Well,
one
and
of
that's
those three spots has to be better next year.
And ultimately that's what you get when you're in year one of the rebuild. And I got some pushback when I said it was year one of the rebuild, but it's for this regime and the way they want to play football. This is year one of the rebuild, and you're starting over without Peppers and without Duggar because you don't think that they're part of the future of this team. And could Kyle Duggar be helping this team right now? Maybe. But they wanted a different look with different guys. They wanted to see what they had from different people, and they thought that they were better guys in the building for the long term of this. And so it was more than just this year. It was the future years as well. And I think that that's really where it comes into play. And I'm not saying that you were saying that, obviously, but just for the fans out there to understand, like, this is one of the reasons they didn't make a move at the deadline was because they weren't sacrificing future assets for this season. They just weren't doing that. And I don't necessarily blame them for that because they looked at it and said, we're in year one of a rebuild. It doesn't matter that we're playing really well right now. We're not trying to win the Super Bowl this year. If we can, we're trying to win the next game, right? So if we win the Super Bowl this year, that's awesome. But we're not sacrificing future assets to try to win this year. We're not going all in, quote unquote. We're just not doing that. And I don't blame them for doing that. I'm glad they stuck to their guns for that. But that may also come back to haunt them, when it comes playoff time.
Well, I do think the flip side of that, look at the Lions right now. Like the Lions had that team where you get so close and then you don't know when you're getting back to Washington last year. And, a big part of this was just that you'd only played two decent teams before the trade deadline.
Right.
So, like, you didn't quite have a good barometer on exactly how far away you are and what types of additions. The player that got traded at the deadline, who I wish they made a move for, is Draymond Jones as a pass rusher. Problem is he played for Tennessee, and they were refusing to trade with you.
Right.
So, I think that's the one you missed out on because just having one other guy in that role helps a lot with where they've been.
And obviously Jalen Phillips, I think, would have helped too. But again, he plays for Miami. You're not going to get him either. It's just, it's one of those situations where I think it was, hey, if something's there and we don't have to give up too much, we'll get someone, but we're not going all out for a guy. And I respect that move by them. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it was a smart move. I think as much as Washington, made the NFC Championship game last year, they're a little bit of a cautionary tale because they went all in last year and lost, and then, you see how much they gave up to get a guy like Marshawn Lattimore, who's been bad this year, and it's like, do you really want to be in that situation where you have an older roster and now you're having a hard time turning things over? And I think that, that's kind of where you're at, right? They went all in, they got Debo, and they did all this other stuff to kind of make their offense what they wanted it to be, and it just never materialized. And I think that, the Patriots wanted to try to avoid that. And I understand where they're coming from, but you also have to be right? They had a good draft this year. I think, you're seeing a lot of dividends from a lot of good players. You got to have a good draft again next year. And then you got to be able to do that. And by the way, the Lions are the same thing, right? They had a really solid draft a few years ago. Last year's draft was not great. This year's draft was not great either. And so, you have to be able to rely on those guys, and they've had injuries too. But it doesn't matter. You have to be able to rely on those guys that you get, and they haven't been able to do that. And Jared Goff has kind of turned back into his old self, right? Where in 2018, the Patriots kind of found out that if you play certain defenses against him, he can't really do well. And that's happened to him a lot in this, certainly this year with the Lions.
On the Jared Goff part, I do think that he's, I forget where this came from. This is an old conversation with some of my friends, but he's almost like a trebuchet back there, in that he's accurate and powerful, and also you need to protect it to make it work for using siege machinery here. That's what he is. If you're playing Civilization, he's like one of your sieges who's going to attack a city but needs to be far away. And he's got a big arm. He's very accurate. He's not mobile, and like you kind of have to tell him where to throw the ball a little bit. He's gotten better. He's clearly gotten a lot better since 2018. But there's also that still in there of like, man, if this game just turns into one of those where things get chaotic and things aren't clean, you're gonna have some bad games from him. It's why I didn't like the idea of the Lions paying him either. I thought you were kind of capping yourself there. You need the rest of the roster to be really good when he's your quarterback, which it has been. And now guys are hurt, missed a little bit in some drafts. I will say, the Lions this year are third in the NFL in DVOA. So they are probably very unlucky this year, going to have a much easier schedule next year and going to bounce back. That's my guess on this, especially when they get healthier. But like also, I think you look at the Lions and the Eagles as two teams that lost their starting centers, who were massive pieces in their offenses that allowed them to do some of the stuff they did. They lose them to retirement. Both of those offenses got worse.
Right.
And that's one of those things that's hard to fix. It's good. It's not that hard to find a good center. It's a lot harder to find any elite center, which both of those teams had.
Right. By the way, they are playing the Lions, just to your point, are playing next year the NFC South and the AFC East. So you would think the NFC South isn't great, and the AFC East, you get the Jets and the Dolphins. It makes your life a lot easier.
That should be at least like 5 wins there. And then you're going to play third or fourth place teams in the other NFC divisions.
Right.
And it'll probably, that might be another 3 wins. Like they might be coming into the year essentially with 7 or 8 wins.
Right.
Before, as long as they're a competent team. And then it's what can they do in the other games.
Correct.
Including a home game against the Patriots. So
we'll
see what happens there. I do want to go back to the Patriots defense for just a second, schematically, because we look ahead for next year. Like, I do think they could use better safety play. I do also think that the way Hawkins and Woodson are playing is okay. And, like, I think schematically what they want to do is that they want those guys to be interchangeable in back-end pieces who are better in coverage than in run defense. They want them to be guys that can limit opposing offenses and force them to have to make a lot of plays in a row. And I think they largely have been. I think you can get by with those two. But schematically, what this unit has been trying to do is like they want to play bend but don't break.
Right.
And they want to have guys who can create, in the bend but don't break. The key part of that is having someone in there somewhere who, on one of the third downs can make a play for you.
Yeah.
But they've been in the kind of this opposite, like this weird spot where it has functionally been the exact opposite of bend but don't break. They're either getting stops right away or allowing touchdowns and not a lot in the middle.
Right.
I think the scheme relies on, like, you need ball hawks in the secondary somewhere, especially good zone defenders for it. You need linebackers who are elite. You need edge defenders who are elite. It does rely on elite talent at some of those positions to make it work. And I question if that's the best scheme for them going forward, because you don't have elite talent at those positions, and you can draft guys, but like you're going to be drafted at the end of the first round. The odds of drafting an elite edge rusher there are going to be relatively low.
Right.
Elite linebackers are few and far between in the NFL and hard to draft. Look at the Bengals this year. Their defense is so bad because they're trying to fix their linebacker problems. They drafted linebackers and they're all awful. Like it's not easy to fix. And at corner, like, schematically, I think they'd be better with like a Devin Witherspoon than a Christian Gonzalez for what they want to do. But you have Christian Gonzalez. So like you can't like another run defense issue they've had is that because they play a lot of zone. So if an offense runs, they call it a nub look. So that means that on one side of the formation, you've got the tight end usually attached to the line of scrimmage and no one else. So you got 3 receivers on the other side and just the tight end on that one side. You kind of realize, all right, well, if you do that to the left side,
oh boy, I lost you, Matt. Are you still there? Oh boy. Seems like Matt may be having some technical difficulties over there in New York. But My assumption was that he was talking about how if you put that on the left side, then there's Christian Gonzalez. And I think it's not a conversation for today. Oh, you're back.
I'm back. I'm wondering if we lost it for a second. I'm wondering if the snow is starting and that's causing some issues.
It's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. This is a conversation for a different day, which is what I was just about to say. But if the Patriots are going to play this type of defense with a heavy reliance on zone defense, does that mean they look to trade Christian Gonzalez? And it's a conversation I do not want to get into today, but it's something to keep in the back of your head, Patriots fans. Christian Gonzalez, I believe, is one of the best man coverage corners in the NFL. A true elite lockdown corner. If you're not going to let him be that, how can you pay him $35-40 million a year? I just don't know how you can justify doing that.
Well, if there's, I look back at the Clinton Portis Champ Bailey trade, if we want to go way back, as that's a football trade, like a 1-for-1, player for player, two guys who were good, just needs to be in different spots. And if you were going to trade Christian Gonzalez, hypothetically,
right?
I think that is the route I'd go. Is there someone else of similar age who is an edge defender who's a fit in your scheme where you can just go out and all right, you guys want to play man defense and we want to play zone. We need an edge rusher and you need a man corner. We'll just swap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't done that research at all.
Right.
I did find it. I think you saw the Brett Coleman tweet about Christian Gonzalez. He tweeted something like a week and a half ago. It was like Christian Gonzalez, have fun with the Detroit Lions next year because that's a team that wants to play a lot of man coverage.
Yeah.
And that's a fit. So I do wonder. I lean towards look at the guys you have in the building and adjust the scheme accordingly. I think you can play heavy man coverage and be that kind of team.
Correct.
With the guys you have, I think your weakness there right now, it's not your corners. It's the fact that you don't really have linebackers and safeties that are great man coverage right now.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how good Christian Gonzalez is in man. If we're playing man and the other team knows, well, you can just check it down to the running back or get it to the tight end every time, and the guy's probably going to be open.
Right.
And to go with
also,
we're blitzing a lot out of man because of that, which the blitzes don't get home, which then makes the corners look bad because they have to cover on an island for a long period of time.
Right. This also isn't Madden, right? You don't have to just play man or zone. You could mix it up too. You know what I mean? And so that's part of the thing as well. You can run a defense that has multiple things going on at once. So, I don't know. Listen, if you're telling me
they do change it up. But
no, I know.
Right now
I'm saying in the middle of the play. I'm saying you could have some guys playing zone and some guys playing man. I do think too that if you're telling me it's Aiden Hutchinson for Christian Gonzalez, that might change. It might change my opinion a little bit if that's the case, right? I don't think that would happen. I don't think Detroit would agree to that. But if that were the case, that might change my opinion on the trade a little bit. If we're getting back a guy like Aiden Hutchinson who can be a game wrecker from the edge position, and you're drafting a corner in the second round or something like that. You know what I mean?
I will say for the Patriots, I would lean towards not trading him and just getting a different defensive coordinator in. I will say this is one of my concerns with Mike Vrabel. For someone who comes with a defensive background, when he was a defensive coordinator in Houston, those units did not rank very well.
Right.
And I don't know, I have no idea where their defensive philosophy is coming from this year. I don't know how much is Vrabel. I don't know how much is Terrell Williams. I don't know how much is Zach Kerr making his adjustments since he has kind of taken over that spot. If this is Mike Vrabel's defense and this is the defense he wants to run, then we're going to be living in that world. And
I also think
I'm going to have some questions there.
I also think too, why sign Carlton Davis if he's a man coverage corner and then play zone? I wonder.
He does defend the run well. He's made some good plays on screens. But.
Part of what I wonder is, do they want to play more man and they're unable to? That's part of what I wonder is we'd like to play more man. We just can't right now because we're physically unable to do that because, as you said, their linebackers and safeties are so bad at man coverage that you just can't do it on a consistent basis.
When they can't they're not one of those teams that can just go out there and be like the Texans this year. They play cover 2-man all the time. Why? Because their guys can cover in it, and also because the 4-man rush gets home.
Right.
If the Patriots try to play cover 2-man, they're going to get killed because even though their guys can cover, they can't cover for 5 seconds at a time.
Right.
And I also don't trust these edge rushers to contain the quarterback there in a way that they do in Houston, which means when they play a man, a lot of times they've been blitzing with it. And, you saw the first half against the Bills. You had 2 series that get disrupted because the blitz gets home and forces a negative play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second half, they don't stop the run. So then you can't even get to those. You only get 2 of those opportunities in the second half, and it doesn't get home.
Right.
And so, you just need a more consistent pass. I think it's all of this as a way of saying that if you want the defense to be better, you need more talent somewhere.
Correct.
Because right now you have, and I don't know if this is going to change. It'll get better in the playoffs with Spillane and Milton Williams, but it's not going to get fixed in the playoffs.
No, it's not. And again, you put Williams and Barmore next to each other, and I think that becomes, a problem for other offenses. But again, they're 2 interior pass rushers. That's just not going to matter as much as an edge rusher. It's just not. You pair the 2 of those guys with an elite edge rusher, and now all of a sudden your defensive line is getting after it, and you're like, oh my God, this could be a formidable defensive line. But with Chasen and Landry, who are fine, they're fine, but they're not great. That's just not enough. And so we'll see. We'll see. So, anyways, shout out to a few people, Matt, for checking in. Appreciate you, Matt, and Murph and Patty and Pat Stats all coming through. We appreciate you guys for being here, and the rest of you in the chat as well. Thank you to a few people. Zero Stroke was in here a bit, and Frosty even, and Darnell, and 618 Racing. We appreciate you guys stopping in and saying hello. We're going to be back Sunday night football, halftime of Sunday Night Football, as we usually do. Matt, you might be there on Sunday.
I'm hoping. I haven't bought tickets yet, but I've been looking.
There you go. So I was thinking about maybe making the trek down, but I think I've decided against it. The wife doesn't really want me to do it anyway. So, and then with the snow coming and stuff, I decided against it. So,
question: what's the Sunday night game this week? Is this the Bears? Oh, it is. This is the Bears 49ers game.
Yeah. Yes, it's a big game.
Yeah, it will be a good one. And then the Monday night game is the first round pick bowl with the Rams and the Falcons.
It's yeah.
The Falcons gave up multiple first round picks to go get a pass rusher. So surely this late season Monday night game is massive for NFC seeding for the Falcons, right? I've been in a coma for the last couple of months, but surely this game is hugely important for the Falcons, right?
It's just so wild. It's such a crazy situation. I mean, to give up an extra first round pick, and listen, I'm not saying James Pierce isn't good. James Pierce is good, fine, but to give up that much to get a guy like that is crazy to me. And it's what they did, and that's why it's one of the reasons why people are talking about selling for the future and doing all this other stuff. And it's just like, no, you got to hold on to those draft picks. Those draft picks are important. If you can hit on those guys, it changes everything. And so we'll see. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you had a great holiday. And we'll see you guys. Our schedule next week's gonna be weird too, because same kind of situation where New Year's is on Thursday, Wednesday's obviously New Year's Eve. And so we'll probably do a Friday show again, although I have a game at 4:30 on Friday. So maybe
I have work on Friday.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it'll be a late night Friday night then. A late night.
You always
Friday.
do a New Year's Day show.
We could always do it. That could work.
We'll see how I'm feeling that day.
Yeah, I'll be feeling just fine. I'm an old with kids, so I'll be. I won't be out late Friday night, Wednesday night. So anyways, well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you Sunday after, hopefully, the Patriots beat the Jets, but we'll see after the Patriots play in MetLife against the Jets. Be good to each other, and go Pats.